All right, we'll go ahead and call this meeting of the City of Pataskala Board of Zoning Appeals to order. Today is Monday, April 8th, 2019. The time now is 6:30. If you would all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Ask Ms. Paxton to call the roll, please.
Bruce Ashcraft. Alan Howe.
Here.
Chad McKittrick. Rob Platt.
Here.
T.J. Rotoback. Here.
Record will reflect that Mr. Ashcraft and Mr. McKittrick are not here. This is a 5-member board. We have 3 members present. We do have a quorum. We will proceed. I will make a very quick introduction. This is an adjudicatory board. This is a hearing. These records are kept. These can be appealed to Common Pleas Court. That being said, everything presented tonight is evidence and testimony. It is presented to this board. Staff will present their presentation. Anybody is entitled to speak who wishes to, as long as you're sworn in, and you need to fill out a paper at the table at the door if you've not already done so. In the interest of efficiency and respect, all of the comments from anyone attending comes to this board. We will then ask questions if need be to other people in the audience. We do not turn around and have conversations while we're up at the podium. I think that's it. Let's proceed. We have 4A, old business. We had variance application VA-19-002 that was tabled at last month's meeting until at the latest the June meeting. Staff, is there any update, or do we just keep this table?
They're proceeding with the traffic study for the TCOD, which is before Planning and Zoning Commission. I think that should be coming in the next few weeks here, but other than that, no updates.
So the applicant has requested this remain tabled. The board will honor that and do so. We will move on to new business. We have 6 items on the agenda. We'll start with staff's report for variance application VA-19-004. Mr. Commissioner, please.
Thank you, sir. The applicant here is Ross Renata, owner is LRC Harmon. Location is at 40 Cypress Street. Acreage is currently about 6.0, zoned M1 light manufacturing, and the applicant is requesting approval of a variance from section 127903A1 of the Pataskala Code to allow for a fence exceeding 48 inches in height to be erected in front of the building setback line. Take a look here. We can see the area map with the property outlined in yellow. Klima Drive is on the east side here, and Cypress Street running east to west. So that, like I mentioned, there's 2 frontages, one on Cypress Street and one on Klima Drive. There's an existing approximately 3,000 square foot commercial building with approximately 18,000 square feet of concrete paving surrounding that, and then an additional 60,000 square feet of gravel surrounding that. If you look here, we can see kind of a close-up view of the property. We've got the building here with the concrete surrounding paving and the existing gravel lot here, and the 2 entrances onto Cypress Street on the south. So the applicant's proposing to construct a 72-inch or 6-foot high fence along the east property line fronting Klima Drive, and a 48-inch 4-foot high fence along the south property line fronting Cypress Street. Each fence is to be 15 to 20 feet from the property line, and plants, bushes, and evergreen trees, etc., are proposed on the outer side of the fence facing the right-of-way to conceal fence and improve the appearance of the property. So, section 127903A1 says a fence or wall not exceeding 48 inches in height may be erected between the building setback line and a line 3 feet toward the building setback line from the street right-of-way line. And section 1251.05C4 says building lines for all street frontages shall have the same required setback for the front yard. So in the M1 district, the front yard setback is 50 feet. So that means any fence erected in front of the building and the property line shall not exceed 48 inches. So the proposed 72-inch fence along Klima Drive will not meet this requirement, hence the need for the applicant to apply for this variance. So in the submitted narrative statement, The applicant stated that the 72-inch fence with privacy inserts is needed to ensure the security of the property given the current use as a distribution and delivery center. Trucks and trailers are to be stored on the property for short periods of time, which must be protected, and the applicant will install landscaping in front of the fence to improve the appearance, improve the appearance and conceal the fence. Take a look here where the proposed fence is going. We've got the 4 feet on the south side here, and the 6-foot fence running the whole eastern property line. So as part of our review, we do have a few comments. The proposed fence is 72 inches. Maximum permitted is 48 inches. Therefore, the variance request is for 24 inches or 2 feet. And staff does not believe there will be an issue with the proposed fence height. However, with the proposed landscaping, staff would like to ensure visibility is maintained at the corner of Cypress Street and Clema Drive. So when applying for a fence permit, staff would like to see the proposed landscaping be included on the site plan for review. We didn't receive any other comments on this application from other departments and agencies. For the surrounding properties, to the north we have it zoned M1 manufacturing and R20 medium density residential, which are the railroad tracks and single family homes. And to the east, south, and west, we all have it zoned M1, which are mostly industrial uses. Take a look up here, you can kind of see graphics showing what the surrounding zoning districts are. Mostly just M1 all around with some R20 properties even further north. Up here we've got findings of fact, which are there in your staff report. Supplementary conditions, so should the board choose to approve this request, we've suggested these conditions be considered. Number 1 being the applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the city of Pataskala and the Lincoln County Building Department within 1 year of the date of approval. And 2, the applicant will include details for the proposed landscaping on the fence permit application. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
So Jack, the request is the 6 foot versus 4 foot. What about the setback for the fence? Is that being addressed here, or is that not an issue?
That's been addressed. So the way the code reads is if you build it anywhere between the front building line here and the street right away, it has to be 4 feet. So this here is okay, being 15 to 20 feet from the right-of-way line, because it has to be at least 3 feet from the right-of-way line. And same here with the 15, 20 feet on this side, that'll meet the setback requirement. It's just above the height limit.
Okay. And how about clear sight triangle for Clema and Cypress? I heard in your report site issues. Do we have a clear sight triangle spec, and if so, how do we include that here?
So with the fence, we don't believe it'll be an issue. It's just that with having that additional landscaping of trees and bushes, whatever the applicant just chooses to install, that those trees aren't too close to the intersection to ensure that there will not be a visibility issue.
Okay.
And that can be addressed with that condition we put on it, that they include the proposed landscaping on their site plan when they get a fence permit.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Applicant is Ross Trinetta. Are you here this evening? Would you like to speak? Nothing additional for this board? Okay. Staff have any questions, possibly for the applicant? Is there anybody else here that wishes to speak to this application? We didn't get any feedback from the fire district and all that we normally check with public service. How about neighbors, showing people that would have
What's across the street from the fence?
Across the street from the fence, there's 2 commercial buildings right here on this side. I mean, all of this here is all just various industrial buildings. I don't know the specific uses of those.
Okay, no, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure it was commercial and not residential.
Yeah. And as far as comments goes, we didn't receive any from fire department or any public service entities.
And did the other manufacturing plants have similar fencing or?
I know I think there's one on the south side here that has kind of the similar chain link fencing with the privacy inserts, but they didn't, variance was not required for them since they weren't on those 2 right-of-ways. It's just in the backyard.
issue with this, Jack. My only concern is, then again, clear sight. Can we, we're requiring the applicant to require the details, and I think that's great. Can we take number 2 and add on to it the words that say, and shall not impede clear sight for vehicular traffic? Can we just add that on the end of number 2?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay. I'd recommend we do that. I don't wanna have a traffic issue there. Okay. Nobody else is here to speak on this? Anything else? Going once, going twice? I will ask the applicant, you heard their conditions, we're gonna add what I just said on number 2. Do you have an issue with that? Okay. All right, so, as with any variance we have a few items we have to review and address when considering an application, and I have that right here. All right, we'll run through our findings of fact here. Letter A, whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or if there can be a beneficial use of the property.
Yes.
Yes.
Letter B, whether there are unique physical circumstances or conditions that prohibit the property being developed in strict conformity with the zoning regulations such that a variance is necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property. I don't believe so.
No.
Letter C, whether the variance requested is substantial.
No.
Letter D, whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or the adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance.
No.
Letter E, whether the variance, if granted, will substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use or development of adjacent property.
No.
Letter F, whether the variance, if granted, will be detrimental to the public welfare.
No.
G, whether the variance, if granted, would adversely affect the delivery of governmental services.
No.
Whether letter H, whether the property owner purchased the subject property with knowledge of the zoning restriction. I don't know, and I don't know that it matters in this case. I guess I'd say no. Even if he did know, I don't know that it matters. Can we agree on no on that one?
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree.
Letter I, whether the property owner's predicament can be obviated through some other method than the variance.
No.
Letter J, whether the variance, if granted, will represent the minimum variance that will afford relief and represent the least modification possible of the requirement at issue.
Yes.
Yes.
And finally, letter K, whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and whether substantial justice done by granting the variance.
Yes.
Yes.
So Ms. Paxton, we have yes for letters A, J, and K, no for the rest. Any other thoughts, questions from the board? Okay, so I will move to approve variance from section 1279.03A1 of the Pataskala Code for variance application VA-19-004 with the supplementary conditions. Number 1, the applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the City of Pataskala, the Licking County Building Code Department within 1 year of the date of approval. And number 2, the applicant will include details for the proposed landscaping on the fence permit application and shall not impede clear sight for vehicular traffic. That is my motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Been a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Ms. Rotoback?
Yes.
Mr. Platt?
Yes. Congratulations, your application has been approved. It took about 8 minutes and tip-off is at 9:20, so we should be good, folks.
Good.
We will now move on to 5B. Variance application VA-19-005, a second application by Mr. Ross Trinata. Jack, I'd like your report, please.
Thank you, sir. Like you said, this is for the same applicant, same owner, and at the same location, so I'll kind of just gloss over the details of the property itself. Again, here's the area map. 6 acres, 2 frontages, 3,000 square feet of existing building with existing concrete surrounds and gravel. Up here we have a closer look at the property. As for the proposal itself, the applicant would like to construct a 100-foot by 230-foot or approximately 2,300 square foot gravel parking lot extension to the north of the existing gravel lot. So, according to section 1291-02A4, all off-street parking shall be hard surfaced with asphaltic cement, concrete, or pavers to provide a durable and dust-free surface. So, according to the applicant's narrative, they say that the expansion is needed to keep up with current business and future expansion plans. The existing gravel lot limits the amount of delivery intake that they can handle at any one time, and they have concerns that concrete or asphalt extension would be damaged by dragging and compacting gravel from the existing lot onto its surface. Take a look up here, we can see the dimensions of the proposed expansion in this location. Just the 230 foot to match with the existing width of the gravel lot here, and then 100 foot back for an additional 2,300 square feet. So, part of our review, we do have a few comments. Staff understands the concerns regarding the damage issue. And the proposed expansion is in an industrial area. Staff believes the character of the surrounding properties would not be affected by this expansion. City engineer did have some comments on this. Number one being the conditions of the OEPA general construction permit must be adhered to, and a stormwater pollution prevention plan needs to be submitted for construction activities. Two, stormwater calculations will need submitted due to the amount of improvements being proposed. We also had a few comments from our public service director. Number one being code section 111901D2 requires development projects creating impervious area of greater than 0.2 acres to adhere to the city's stormwater management regulations. And a subnote that code section 111901C applies this requirement as cumulative to the entire development site and not just any phase thereof. So number two, the proposed new gravel area dimension in the application is 2,300 square feet. Excuse me, it says 23,000 up there. It should be 2,300. 1.53 acres, with the existing impervious and parking surface being approximately 1.62 acres, and the total area of impervious and parking areas will then be 2.15 acres, so it meets that threshold. While gravel is not 100% impervious, installing a gravel parking lot will increase the runoff. And number four, being in accordance with the above, it is opinion of the Public Service Director that the stormwater management practices in accordance with Chapter 1119 of the Tascola Code should be provided for this development project. As for surrounding properties, we have, again, to the north, M1 and some R20 railroad tracks and single-family homes, and east-southwest, all M1 industrial uses. Taking another quick look here at the zoning surrounding the property. We have the findings of fact here, which are also in your staff report, and we do have some supplementary conditions. Number one being the applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the city of Tascola and the Licking County Building Department within 1 year of the date of approval, and two, the applicant shall address all comments of the city engineer and the public service director. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Steve?
No.
Existing parking is gravel.
That's correct.
Surrounding businesses, what are they using?
It is a mix of gravel and paving. Some newer properties mostly have hard surface, but there are some existing gravel lots back there.
And likewise on this one, have we received any feedback from neighbors or those that received the notice?
We have not.
Is this a wet area or is it seemingly dry?
To tell you the truth, I am not sure. I'm sure the public service director would take that into account when he's looking at it. Based on the comments that he had, I don't believe that it would be.
Doesn't look like it is.
So Hall has it going through stormwater calcs, they need to be provided.
That's correct.
Okay, Mr. Applicant, Mr. Chinada, do you have anything you'd like to add? much of an issue with this one either.
I don't either. No.
It's pretty,
Yeah, as long as that's what is there.
I think if it was a paved lot, wanting to go to a gravel extension, I might have an issue, but I think if we're keeping with the same,
Right.
not so much of an issue. If there's no other questions, comments, testimony, or evidence, we will move on to findings of fact for this one. I will read them as fast as I can. Letter A, whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or if there can be a beneficial use of the property.
Yes.
Letter B, whether there are unique physical circumstances or conditions that prohibit the property being developed in strict conformity with the zoning regulation that such a variance is necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property.
No.
Letter C, whether the variance requested is substantial.
No.
Letter D, whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or the adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance.
No.
Letter E, whether the variance, if granted, will substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use or development of adjacent properties.
No.
Letter F, whether the variance, if granted, will be detrimental to the public welfare.
No.
Letter G, whether the variance, if granted, would adversely affect the delivery of government services.
No.
Letter H, whether the property owner purchased the subject property with knowledge of the zoning restriction.
No. Unknown.
We'll agree on that.
Yeah.
Whether the property owner's predicament, this is letter I, can be obviated through some other method than the variance.
Yes. Could pave it.
Letter J, whether the variance, if granted, will represent the minimum variance that will afford relief and represent the least modification possible of the requirement at issue.
Yes.
And finally, letter K, whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance.
Yes.
So Ms. Paxton, for this one, yes for letters A, I, J, K, B for the rest. Any other thoughts, questions, discussion of the board?
Not this time.
The only thing I would say, maybe I'm just on a roll tonight, but I'm gonna add to number 2. We have addressing the comments of the city engineer and the public service director. I'm gonna add at the end, included within the staff report, simply because I am a picky details kind of person. So, I will move to approve variance from section 1291.02A4 of the Pataskala Code for variance application VA-19-005 with the following supplementary conditions. Number 1, the applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the City of Pataskala, Licking County Building Code Department within 1 year of the date of this approval. And number 2, the applicant shall address all comments of the city engineer and the public service director included within this staff report. That is my motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Platt?
Yes.
Ms. Rotovac?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Congratulations. Your second application has been approved. Staff will follow up with you within the next couple of days. We will move on to 5C on the agenda. This is variance application VA-19-006. We'll ask Mr. Kunzman to provide his staff report.
Thank you, Ms. Platt. The applicant and owner here is Andrew Lust. Location is at 13797 Havens Corners Road Southwest. Current acreage is 15.29 acres and is zoned RR Rural Residential. The applicant's requesting approval of a variance from section 1221.05D1 of the Pataskala Code to allow for an accessory structure to be erected in front of the principal structure. So take a look here. We can see the area map. Property outlined in yellow here, with Havens Corners being on the north and Summit being here on the west. So on this 15.29 acre property, there are several existing buildings. First one being a 2,300 square foot existing home, a 1,200 square foot detached garage, and a 1,120 square foot pole barn. Take a look here. See just close in look at the property, house being off here to the east, and the 2 buildings here on Havens Corners Road. So, the 1,200 square foot garage was damaged by a fire in April of last year. The applicant is proposing to construct a larger 45 foot by 80 foot or 3,000 600 square foot pole barn to replace the burnt structure. And in doing this, he would demolish the other existing pole barn upon completion of it. The new structure will maintain the same setback from Havens Corners Road as the existing structure, and per the submitted plan, setbacks are to be 58 feet from Havens Corners Road, 640 feet from Summit Road southwest, and 180 feet from the east property line. The applicant stated the reason for a larger structure is for the storage of tools and agricultural vehicles, as well as providing an area for the maintenance of those vehicles. And he does not believe that there will be an impact on public infrastructure or the neighboring properties. Take a look here, we can see the submitted site plan. This fainter outline here in yellow is to be the new structure, taking up the spot of where the destroyed structure was. Setbacks here, 58 feet, the same setback as what is currently, or what the garage was. And this structure here to the right will be demolished upon completion of the new one. Here with the submitted elevations that were given with the application. So as part of our review, we do have a few comments. Section 1221D, accessory building shall be located even with or behind the front of a principal structure, side or rear yards. And the existing home is 130 feet off Havens Corner Road, and the new structure is 58 feet off of Havens Corners Road, therefore the need for the variance. Section 122105C2 says accessory buildings on lots 2 acres or greater shall not exceed 25 feet in height. So lots 15.29 acres, therefore would fall under this distinction. No height was listed on the plans, so staff would like to see this indicated on the elevations. Possible modification was added to address this. The proposed structure does meet all the other applicable requirements of Section 1221 accessory building regulations. And as far as other departments and agencies, we received no comments. Surrounding properties to the north, east, and south, we have it zoned RR rural residential, which are all single-family homes, except for the east, which is a farm field. And to the west, we have it zoned R87 medium low density residential, which are some more single-family homes. Take a look here, see just what the zoning actually is. Property is outlined here in the yellow dash or the white dashes. All of this purple surrounding it is RR, rural residential, and this red spot here is R87. There are your findings of fact, and they're also there in your staff report. We do have a few supplementary conditions for you to consider. Number one being, again, just the typical boilerplate, applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the city of Itasca and the Lincoln County Building Department within 1 year. And two, the applicant shall include the height of the proposed accessory structure on the accessory building permit application. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Any questions for staff?
My understanding is there's 2 outbuildings now. Both of them eventually will be taken down.
That's correct.
So
We're going from 2 to 1. Yes.
got it.
Okay. Mr. Lust, are you here this evening, and would you like to address the board?
Yes, sir, I'm here. Just one thing, the height of,
If you'll come to the mic, you'll need to turn and be sworn in, then you'll give your name and address for the record.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Name and address for the record, please.
Andrew Lost, 13797, Havens Corner Road, Southwest, Itasca, Ohio.
Okay.
The building height would be 24 feet. That's just not clearly defined on that plan.
Okay. And being that that's the case, I'm assuming you're gonna have no problem with us requiring that that be added to the plan.
Not at all.
Okay, any other information for this board?
Not at this time, sir.
Okay, any questions from the board? Questions from staff? Is there anybody else here to speak on this variance application? Hearing none. Wow, this is,
Anything from the neighbors?
yeah, have we got any?
No, we received no communications from the neighbors.
Awesome.
This is almost a too easy now. I know.
Oh, God. Here we go.
All right, so we have our standard findings of fact that I'll be tired of reading here in a minute, but we will press on. Letter A, whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or if there can be a beneficial use of the property.
Yes.
Yes.
Letter B, whether there are unique physical circumstances or conditions that prohibit the property being developed in strict conformity with the zoning regulations such that a variance is necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property.
Yes.
Yes.
Letter C, whether the variance requested is substantial.
No.
Letter D, whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or the adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. Letter E, whether the variance if granted will substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use or development of adjacent property. F, whether the variance if granted will be detrimental to the public welfare. Letter G, whether the variance if granted would adversely affect the delivery of government services.
No.
And letter H, whether the property owner purchased the subject property with knowledge of the zoning restriction. Letter I, whether the property owner's predicament can be obviated through some other method than the variance.
Yes.
J, whether the variance if granted will represent the minimum variance that will afford relief and represent the least modification possible of the requirement at issue.
Yes.
And finally, letter K, whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance. So, Ms. Paxton, letters A, B, C, I, J, K are yes, the rest are no.
It's your book.
My book?
This is for farm use and it's over 10 acres. Does it fall into ag?
I don't know. I'm trusting that Jack has already taken care of that.
Okay.
So we've gone through findings of fact, we've received the testimony. This again is for the board, I do not see an issue, we're not decreasing the existing setback. Being that there's no objection from the public, I don't see an issue with this one either, so. I'm happy to move, if somebody else wants to, feel free.
I move to approve the variance from section 1221.05D1 of the Pataskala Code for variance application VA 19006 with the following supplementary conditions. First, number 1, the applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the city of Pataskala and the Licking County Building Department within 1 year of the date of approval. And 2, the applicant shall include the height of the proposed accessory structure on the accessory building permit application.
Got a motion, is there a second?
I second.
And a second, is there discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Platt?
Yes.
Ms. Roebuck?
Yes.
Congratulations, Mr. Lust, your application's been approved. Staff will get with you in the next couple days for follow-up. You are not required to stay, but you're welcome to if you wish. Move on to 5D of the agenda. This is variance application VA-19-007, application submitted by Holly L. Hunt. I would ask for Mr. Kunstman's staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Platt. Location here is at 380 Warren Point Lane. Acreage is 2.04. Current zoning is R87, medium low density residential, and the applicant is requesting approval of a variance from section 1221.05D1 of the Pataskala Code to allow for an accessory building to be located in front of the principal structure. So, same one as last time. Here, take a look here, you can see the area map. The property is outlined here in yellow, with Warren Point Lane running north to south right in front of it. So currently on the property, there's approximately 2,928 square foot existing home with access via a single asphalt driveway onto Warren Point Lane. And there is approximately a 6,800 square foot pond south of the driveway in front of the home. And there is an existing concrete driveway turnaround on the north side of the driveway. You can see that here in kind of a zoomed in view of the property. Got the concrete turnaround on the north side of the driveway here. Driveway and the pond on the south side of the driveway. So the applicant's proposing to construct a 25-foot by 30-foot or 750 square foot detached garage, which will be 38 feet from the north property line and approximately 35 feet from the existing structure. We did not receive a narrative statement with the application that was submitted. However, the applicant stated on the application form that the reason for the location of the proposed structure is due to the septic and aeration system being in the north side yard and the well being in the south side yard. And they stated that the reason for the garage was to provide additional parking and storage space. See up here, this is the site plan that was submitted, and it was kind of turned out a little dark when it was scanned into the computer, so I kind of overlaid that here to give you a better idea of what we're looking at. The proposed garage here is the yellow square. It'll be 38 feet from this north property line here. This yellow circle on the top side is where the existing septic system is, right in the north side yard, and the existing well is right here in the south side yard. So, section 1221.05D1, again, accessory buildings shall be located even with or behind the front of a principal structure within the side or rear yard. The existing home is 240 feet off of Warren Point Drive, and the new structure will be approximately 210 feet off of Warren Point Drive, therefore a variance is required. Although no narrative statement was submitted, staff believes that the information given on the application form accurately describes the need for a variance, and we also understand that it may be difficult to locate a garage in the side or rear yards due to the septic and well systems, and staff also understands the desire to use the existing driveway turnaround. So again, section 1221.05C2, accessory buildings on lots 2 acres or greater shall not exceed 25 feet in height. The lot is 2.04 acres, therefore it falls under this distinction. And again, no height was listed on these plans. Staff would like to see this indicated on the elevation plans, and a possible modification has been added to address this. So, the proposed structure does meet all the other applicable requirements of section 1221 accessory building regulations, and as for other departments and agencies, we did not receive any more comments. So, to the north, east, south, and west of this property, we have it all zoned R87 medium low density residential. And they are all single family homes except for on the east side, which is vacant, currently used as a farm field. Again, just take a look up here to see the surrounding properties with the property in question outlined in the white dashes here. Everything around it is in the red zone R87, with some agricultural being further out west. Findings of fact are up there on the board, also listed in your staff report. And we do have a couple supplementary conditions that you can consider. One being, again, the applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the city of Tascola and the Lincoln County Building Department within 1 year of the date of approval. And 2, the applicant shall include the height of the proposed accessory structure on the accessory building permit application. If you have to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from the board for staff?
No.
Okay. Ms. Hunt, are you here this
Yes.
evening? Would you like to speak to the board, add anything additional, respond to staff's report, anything you want to say? Okay. Board have any questions for the applicant? We receive any comments
We
from
do not.
neighbors?
No, sir.
Wow. Okay. All right, we'll go through our findings of fact then. This will be letter A, whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or if there can be a beneficial use of the property.
Yes.
Yes.
Whether there are unique, this is B, physical circumstances or conditions that prohibit the property being developed in strict conformity with the zoning regulations such that a variance is necessary to enable a reasonable use of the property.
Yes.
C, whether the variance requested is substantial.
No.
Letter D, whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or the adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. Letter E, whether the variance if granted will substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use or development of adjacent property.
No.
Letter F, whether the variance if granted will be detrimental to the public welfare.
No.
G, whether the variance if granted would adversely affect the delivery of government services.
No.
Letter H, whether the property owner purchased the subject property with knowledge of the zoning restriction.
No.
Don't know. No. I, whether the property owner's predicament can be obviated through some other method than the variance.
Yes.
Yeah. Sure could.
Letter J, whether the variance, if granted, will represent the minimum variance that will afford relief and represent the least modification possible of the requirement at issue.
Yes.
Yes.
And finally, letter K, whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance.
Yes.
Yes.
So Ms. Paxton, we are letters A, B, I, J, K for yes, the rest are no. Are there any other thoughts, questions, comments, testimony, evidence from the public, from the staff, from the board? Going once, going twice. Entertain a motion as to this application. I do not see an issue with it from the testimony that I've heard in the staff report.
I move to approve variance from section 1221.05D1 of the Pataskala Code for variance application BA-19-07 with the following supplemental conditions. The applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the city of Pataskala and the Licking County Building Department within 1 year of the date of approval. 2, the applicant shall identify the height of the proposed structure on the elevation plans when applying for the accessory building permit.
There's been a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Been a second, is there discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Rotovac?
Yes.
Mr. Platt?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Congratulations, Ms. Hunt. Your application has also been approved this evening. Staff will follow up with you in a couple days. You're welcome to stay. These meetings generally aren't that much fun, so if you want to stay, fine. If not, you won't hurt her feelings. Move on to letter E, variance application VA-19-008. This is an application submitted by Zachary Atkinson. Ask Jack to give his staff report, please.
Thank you, sir. The location of VA 19-008 is at 2027 Pine Hills Drive. Acreage is 0.275. It's currently zoned R15, medium high density residential, and the applicant is requesting approval of a variance from section 1297-02B2 of the Pataskala Code to allow for an in-ground swimming pool to be located 1 foot as opposed to the 10 foot required from an easement line, and to locate the pool filters and pumps 15 feet from the property line as opposed to the required 20 feet. So if you look here, we have an area map, the property outlined in yellow. You will notice that the area map currently shows it as a forest, because this is the newly approved Ravines at Hazelwood Phase 3. It's currently under construction, and the houses are being built now. The public utilities have already been accepted, and we're starting to get zoning permits in for these houses. So the property, again, 0.27 acres, and the home is currently under construction. The permit for this home was approved on May 22nd, 2019. As approved, it is 2,271 square feet with the following setbacks. From the front, we have 31 feet, to the rear, 64 feet, to the left, 11 feet, and to the right, 7 feet. There are also easements present on the property. If you look up here, you can see what was the approved site plan that was submitted for this house. I apologize, it may be a little hard to read, but it was difficult to get it to fit all on the screen. So there's a 30-foot drainage easement in the rear, 10-foot easement on the left or west side, and a 5-foot easement on the right or east side. So the applicant is proposing to construct a 25-foot by 4 inches, 25 feet 4 inches by 14 feet 6 inches pool with a concrete deck, with concrete decking. The pool decking will be 15 feet from the west property line, 31 feet from the north property line, and 12 feet from the east property line. However, now taking into account those easements that are present, they will be 5 feet from the west easement line, 1 foot from the north easement line, and 8 feet from the east easement line. So, according to section 1297-02B2, the pool, including any walks, paved areas, and appurtenances, thereto, may be located anywhere on the premises except in the front yards, provided it shall not be closer than 10 feet to any property or easement line. Therefore, with the submitted site plan and setbacks, a variance will be required since it is less than that 10 feet to the easement line. Also, the pump and filter system is proposed to be on the east side of the home, 15 feet from the east property line, and according to section 129702B2, further states provided further that any pump and filter installations shall be located not closer than 20 feet from the property line, and a variance will also be required for this. So, the applicant will also install a 5-foot tall fence around the rear yard with self-closing gates. And the applicant stated in their narrative that the variance will not have a negative impact on the surrounding properties or be a detriment to public welfare. He also said that without the variances, there would be nowhere to put the pool, and he does not believe the pool pumps will cause excessive noise or be an eyesore. Take a look here. We could look at the submitted site plan. These black like hash lines here where the easements are. You can see on the north side we're 1 foot away with the pool decking, 5 feet on the east side, and 5 feet on the west side, and 10 feet on the east. So, as part of this, planning and zoning department has a few comments. Number 1, proposed pool will meet all of the requirements of section 129702 private swimming pools, of course, accepting what the variance is being requested for. Staff would like to remind the applicant to check with their homeowners association for any approval needed on their end, but we'd like to remind them that the city does not and will not enforce any HOA requirements. And as far as other departments and agencies, we did not receive any comments. So, surrounding properties are all zoned R15 medium high density residential, except to the north we have a vacant farm field, and to the east, south, and west are the future single family homes that are currently under construction. Again, we can take a closer look at what the surrounding zoning properties look like. All of this here is zoned R15. We have some R10 up in the corner and some R7 to the east here, and agricultural at the end of the subdivision to the west. Findings of fact there, also in your staff report. And we do have the one boilerplate supplementary condition: applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the city of Pataskala and the Lincoln County Building Department within 1 year of date of approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for staff? Mr. Atkinson, are you here this evening? Would you like to speak to the board, present evidence, testimony, respond to staff's report, or any of the above?
No, sir.
Any questions for the applicant from the board? From staff?
No.
It's a new phase of a subdivision. I don't know how many have been purchased. Any feedback from the public?
We have not received any feedback.
Okay.
Any other like pools that are being requested or are installed? Do you know of any?
Nothing so far yet in this new subdivision.
In the old one, do we know of anything?
Not off the top of my head, no.
That's fine. Thank you.
I have no speaker request forms for this application either, but I'll go ahead and ask, is there anybody else here that wishes to speak to this application? Okay. Anything else? All right. We are going to move on to findings of fact. Letter A, whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or if there can be a beneficial use of the property.
Yes.
Letter B, whether there are unique physical circumstances or conditions that prohibit the property being developed in strict conformity with the zoning regulation such that a variance is necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property.
Yes.
Yes.
I think I have to say no on that.
I'd say the easements are the unique part.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll get on board with that.
That's what I was going
All right. Letter C, whether the variance requested is substantial.
Yes.
Yes, they are.
Letter D, whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or the adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance.
No.
No.
Letter E, whether the variance, if granted, will substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use or development of adjacent property.
No.
No.
Letter F, whether the variance, if granted, will be detrimental to the public welfare.
No.
Letter G, whether the variance, if granted, would adversely affect the delivery of government services.
No.
Letter H, whether, bless you. Letter H, whether the property owner purchased the subject property with knowledge of the zoning restriction. I'm going with no since he just acquired it.
That's true.
I, whether the properties owner's predicament can be obviated through some other method than the variance.
Yes.
I suppose you could build a smaller pool
Smallest one they have.
or those blue plastic ones, right?
Or not build a
Or not.
Or not.
I guess yes, but it is.
Letter J, where the variance, if granted, will represent the minimum variance that will afford relief and represent the least modification possible of the requirement at issue.
Yes.
Yes.
And finally, letter K, whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance.
Yes.
Yes.
So Ms. Paxton, for this one, A, B, C, I, J, K would be yes, the rest would be no. From my position, I again do not see an issue with this one. Nothing else. Entertain a motion as to this application.
I move to approve the variance from section 1297.02B2 of the Pataskala Code for variance application number VA 19008 with the following supplementary condition. And that condition is the applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the city of Pataskala and the Licking County Building Department within 1 year of the date of approval.
Been a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Been a second, is there discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Platt?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Ms. Rodobat?
Yes.
Congratulations, Mr. Atkinson, your application has been approved. Staff will follow up with you in the next couple of days. You are welcome to stay, you're certainly not required to.
Thanks, guys.
Enjoy that new home.
And finally, we will move on to letter F under new business. This will be variance application VA-19-009 submitted by Rebecca Hanna. Ask staff to give a report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Platt. Location here is 93 Harrison Street Southwest. Acreage is 0.23, currently zoned R20 medium density residential. So another fence variance, the applicant is requesting approval of a variance from section 1279.03A1 of the Pataskala Code to allow for a fence exceeding 48 inches in height to be erected in front of the building setback line. So if you take a look here, we have a area map of the property, which is outlined in yellow here. There's actually 3 right-of-ways, being Harrison Street in the north here, an alley running along the east property line, and another alley along the south property line. So, on the 0.23 acre property, there's an existing 2,712 square foot home and a 540 square foot attached garage. And again, there's 3 frontages, Harrison Street to the north and the 2 alleys on the east and south. And again, we can take a closer look in here at the property with the house and the detached garage directly behind it and the 3 right-of-ways. So the proposal is to construct a 72-inch or 6-foot privacy fence along the south property line bordering the alley, along the west property line, and a small portion along the east property line ending at the driveway. The applicant will leave a notch in the southeast corner to ensure site visibility is maintained at the intersection. So again, with section 1279.03A1, a fence or wall not exceeding 48 inches in height may be erected between the building setback line and a line 3 feet toward the building line setback line from the street right-of-way line. So, section 1231.05C4, building lines for all street frontages shall be the same required front yard, and section 1251.05C1, in the R20 district, properties with central utilities shall have a front yard of 50 feet. Any fence erected in front of the building and the property line shall not exceed 48 inches, and the proposed 72-inch fence will not meet this requirement, and the applicant has requested a variance. In the narrative statement that was submitted, the applicant stated that they would like to start beekeeping and a garden, and per section 506.04C of the Pataskala Code, any beehive shall have a fence that is at least solid fence that is at least 6 foot in height around it. Also serves as protection for the 3 children and 2 large dogs, and to keep predators away from their chickens. If you take a look here, you can see the proposed site plan with the fence in green running from the driveway here and the notch in the corner for site visibility up the south side and all the way along the west side between the neighbor's property. So as part of our review, we do have a few comments. Staff does not believe the proposed fence will cause line of sight issues, And as the lot is only 65 feet in width and the front building setback is 50 feet, placing a 6-foot high fence anywhere on the lot except the west property line would be very difficult. We did have some comments from the Public Service Department, one being if the proposed fence will be within the right-of-way, at any point a right-of-way permit will be required. And 2 being if it is proposed that the fence will be within the right-of-way, it must remain a minimum distance of 6 feet away from the edge of the pavement. We did not receive any other comments from other agencies or departments. Surrounding properties are all zoned R20 medium density residential, and they are all single-family homes. Take a look here, the surrounding zoning characteristics, all of this lighter shade of yellow, this greenish yellow here is R20. Do have some M1 further away, a small little part of GB commercial zoning at the end of the street, and the school's right here in the PDD yellow. We have the findings of fact up there, are also in your staff report. And we do only have one supplementary condition that the applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the city of Pataskala and the Lincoln County Building Department within 1 year of the date of approval. And appears I must have left one of the conditions out on the presentation, but it is in your staff report. The second one would be, oh, wait a minute, never mind.
It's not.
Yep, okay, never mind. I was reading the wrong one, sorry. That's it. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Should there be a second supplementary condition to address Mr. Haynes' concerns?
I could see that being acceptable. If we just want to do address all comments of the Public Service Department that are included in the staff report.
This is Perkins Campus. Am I in the wrong
On
one?
down, no.
He did,
Yep.
okay, thank you.
Any questions for staff? Ms. Hannah, are you here this evening?
Yes, I am.
Would you like to address the board, add any additional information, respond to staff's report? If so, please come to the podium.
Not at this time.
Okay. I have no speaker request forms for this application, but I will ask, is there anybody here to speak to this?
I have a question.
Okay, please come to the podium. If you've not filled out a request form, please do so before you leave this evening. Please give it to Ms. Paxton.
When I leave,
You can go ahead and give it to her now.
Now.
So she'll have it for the record.
thank you, sorry, I've never done this before.
If you'll turn to Ms. Paxton, be sworn in.
Okay. Raise your hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Beverly Wansick, 40 Harrison Street,
Okay?
Summit Station.
Okay. And what do you have for us?
My question is, you showed that picture. So let's say this is the front of the house here. Okay, can you point to where the front of the house is?
Be right here on the right side.
So privacy fence, is that wood? Or what is the fence going to be? I mean, I could see maybe a chain link, but a big wall that
Okay.
high,
Your question then is materials?
yes.
Okay. We will get that answered. Do you have any other questions or?
No, I can't, okay, I live the first house, behind the post office on the right-hand side, and they are down on the other side of the street, and if you would go down the alley in the back and whatever, but it just doesn't sound right to me to have this great big high fence in front of a house,
Okay.
if it's like wood or something.
Okay. We will get the answer to your question. Do you have anything else for the board?
No,
Okay. Do you have any questions?
No.
Thank you for your testimony.
Staff, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. We will get your answer to your question. Thank you.
thank you.
Has the applicant indicated material types?
They
I
have
do not see it on
not,
the application.
but the code does not, we don't require any sort of design standards for fence as far as materials go, it's just height and location.
Okay,
Wasn't there a restriction with the beekeeping? It'd be a solid fence or something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
solid fence.
And
Yeah,
would
in the
chain-
beekeeping
would
section.
chain link be considered a solid fence?
So privacy fences are typically the 6 foot and they don't have spaces in between the slats, I guess, they're just solid.
no matter the material, whether it's.
Either plastic or wood is normally for privacy fence.
Right.
And are there other beekeeping operations in the area?
We have them all over the city. We don't require permits for them. We just ask that they follow the requirements of section 506. So,
Okay. Since the applicant's here, would you like to address material type?
Yes, I
If you
can.
would come to the podium. You've not been sworn in yet, I'm gonna ask you to do so. Please be sworn in by Ms. Baxter.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
And your name and address for the record.
Rebecca Hanna, 93 Harrison Street, Pataskala, Ohio.
Okay, and the question was to material types. Do you wish to provide an answer to that?
Because if we decide on our property, information provided to us by the zoning office states that if we do decide to have the one beehive, it would require a solid 6-foot fence. We do plan to do that after we have the required fence set up. We also have spoken about the right-of-way permit, with Alan, so we will be going through that process after this one. We also have had issues in the past with online gaming and that bringing individuals into our yard. Specifically, there was an issue with the Pokemon Go in our house being an old structure was a gym. We had people at all hours in our yard. We also have had several issues with stray cats, specifically in our backyard, and so we do worry about our pets and our kids, and if we were to garden with fleas or any kind of nuisances that go along with it.
Okay. Solid fencing is one thing, material type is not. You're not required to. Do you wish to provide material type that you
It would be
intend to use?
wood.
Wood, okay. That will address the question that was raised. Thank you.
Can I
You may.
ask a question? And did you purchase this property knowing that a variance would be required for this?
No,
Okay.
no, we did not realize that we have 3 front yards, even though that's technically our backyard behind our garage.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Staff?
Yeah.
Anything? I'm sorry?
I do have a staff question.
Okay, anything else you'd like to provide? Okay, thank you. You may be seated. Go ahead.
What's the minimum amount of 6-foot surrounding for the beehive? Is there a cubic yardage or?
It
what
didn't
is it?
state like how much, it just said it had to be enclosed by a 6-foot solid fence.
So a dog kennel might even subside with that.
What was that?
With the purpose of a dog kennel that's 6 foot high surrounding a honey.
I'm not sure. I'm sure if it's some sort of solid
Sounds pretty
enclosure
big,
that
so
can
like-
keep the bees in.
Yeah, I would
that
think that even a 6-foot dog kennel would, instead of, I'm just trying to,
But it wouldn't help in this case with the dogs and
I just meant 6 foot versus what we already have it. Yeah, so they wouldn't have to do the whole thing in that tall fence if.
we got it.
Okay, hold on, we'll get our answer. Good to you? Hold on.
Yeah. So it states on lots of less than 5 acres, a solid fence or dense hedge known as a flyaway barrier at least 6 feet in height shall be placed along the side of the beehive that contains the entrance to the hive. And what does it say, no such flyaway barriers shall be required if all beehives are located at least 25 feet from all property lines, and for beehives that are located on porches or balconies at least 10 feet above grade, except if such porch or balcony is located less than 5 feet from the property line.
Okay, that is your question? Okay, this gentleman raised his hand. You wish to speak?
I have a question.
Please come to the podium. You'll need to be sworn in.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Name and address for the record, please.
Kevin Wren, 118 Harrison Street. The question Beverly had was around the front yard.
Okay.
I'm across the street from this property, and from what I'm seeing, it's down the side and backyard. And I'm just wanting to confirm that that is the case.
Okay.
I think that's what I'm on.
Can you
Yes.
speak to the application where the new fence is being?
Yeah, so actually if you look up on the screen here, so this is the site plan that was submitted for the variance, outlined in the green here. The fence stops just about parallel with the front of the house and runs along the side property line, the rear property line, and this little corner right here up to where the driveway is. So as per the submitted plans, it will not be in the front yard.
Okay.
That's where I was confused.
Anything else?
That's all I had.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you.
sir. I'm gonna ask the applicant, will you verify that is the intended location of the new fence?
Would you
That
like me to approach the podium?
a yes or no from there will be fine for me.
That is correct.
Okay, that's all I need. Applicant indicated yes. So, any other questions from staff?
No.
For staff?
No.
From the board, for anybody? Okay. Anybody else from the public that wishes to ask any other question? Provide evidence, testimony? Jack, you or through this process, we've verified there's not a sight distance issue for vehicular traffic, is that correct?
That's correct. Based on the plan submitted, both the public service director and I looked at it. We don't believe there will be an issue with how they notched the corner there on the southeast side.
So Jack, the red that is on this page, where it's, the red is just the property line, or what's this red? Is that,
The red, yeah, that's just the property line.
okay,
I believe on all of the site plans, where the actual location of the fence is green.
so it won't be enclosed yard? Or an enclosed fence, it's just
Looks like it's three-sided.
three-sided? Should we ask the applicant if that's, because there's no, it's not enclosed, I just wanna make sure that, see how there's nothing,
No return?
yeah, no return. If that's the,
So Jack, I'm gonna ask you again, does the new fence meet the requirements for beekeeping? I didn't realize that's not the
So,
application in front of us, I guess we're just inquiring.
yeah, so per the code, it says shall be placed along the side of the beehive that contains the entrance to the hive and shall be located within 5 feet of the hive. So as long as that beehive, the entrance to it is facing a fence and it's 5 feet away from that, it's considered enclosed.
And it meets the code.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay,
But the
as long
applic-
as we're doing right by the application, that's
Okay.
fine by
Yeah.
me.
Any other questions? Comments, concerns, evidence, testimony? Going once, going twice. I would recommend that this board add a second supplementary condition, should it choose to approve the application, that would read, all items indicated by the public service director in the staff report shall be addressed. We'll go through our findings of fact for the 6th time this evening. Letter A, whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or if there can be a beneficial use of the property.
Yes.
Yes.
Letter B, whether there are unique physical circumstances or conditions that prohibit the property being developed in strict conformity with the zoning regulations such that a variance is necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property.
Yes. Seeing as it's three-sided.
I would agree with that. I would say yes.
Yes.
Letter C, whether the variance requested is substantial.
Yes.
Yes.
Letter D, whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or the adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance.
No.
Letter E, whether the variance if granted will substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use or development of adjacent property.
No.
Letter F, whether the variance if granted will be detrimental to the public welfare.
No.
Letter G, whether the variance if granted would adversely affect the delivery of government services.
No.
Letter H, whether the property owner purchased the subject property with knowledge of the zoning restriction.
No.
Letter I, whether the property owner's predicament can be obviated through some other method than the variance.
No.
Whether the variance, if granted, will represent the minimum variance that will afford relief and represent the least modification possible of the requirement at issue.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay? And letter K, whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance.
Yes.
Yes.
So Ms. Paxton, we are at A, B, C, J, K. For yes for this one, no for the rest. I failed to ask staff, were there any other, was there any other input from neighbors for those that would have received notice of this?
We did not receive any.
Okay, Mr. Wren's comment was, or question was addressed. The previous comment was addressed as to material types. I like the fact that we're addressing the, clear sight distance for traffic. That's always a concern of mine. Beyond that, I do not have a problem with this application. That's just my 2 cents of it. Any other questions, comments, discussion from the board?
No.
Hearing none, I will move to approve variance from section 1279.03A1 of the Pataskala Code for variance application VA-19-009 with the following supplementary conditions. Number 1, the applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the City of Pataskala and the Licking County Building Code Department within 1 year of the date of approval. And number 2, all items indicated by the Public Service Director in this staff report shall be addressed. That is my motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Is there discussion?
Just want to be sure, Ms. Wansek, if her, I mean, we got your answer, are you comfortable then?
Yes, I think so.
Excellent.
Okay, any other discussion?
No.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Platt?
Yes.
Ms. Rotovac?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Congratulations, Ms. Hannah, your application has been approved with the supplementary conditions we listed. Staff will be in touch with you in the next couple of days for your next steps. You're welcome to stay, you certainly don't have to.
Thank you very much for your time.
We will wrap up our meeting here with findings of fact. I will entertain a motion to approve the findings of fact for variance application VA-19-004 as discussed in the hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Platt?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Ms. Rotovac?
Yes.
I will entertain a motion to approve the findings of fact for variance application VA-19-005 as discussed in the hearing.
So moved.
And a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second, is there roll call, or is there discussion?
No.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Platt?
Yes.
Ms. Rotovac?
Yes.
Entertain a motion to approve findings of fact for variance application VA-19-006 as discussed in the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
And a motion and a second, so discussion. Roll call, please.
Ms. Rotovac?
Yes.
Mr. Platt?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the findings of fact for variance application VA-19-007 as discussed in the hearing.
So moved.
Second?
There's been a motion and a second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Platt?
Yes.
Ms. Rotovac?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Entertain a motion to approve. Are we on letter E?
Yes.
To approve the findings of fact for variance application VA-19-008 as discussed in the hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Been a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Ms. Rotovac?
Yes.
Mr. Platt?
Yes. Entertain a motion to approve findings of fact for variance application VA-19-009 as discussed in the hearing.
So moved?
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Discussion?
Nope.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Rotovac?
Yes.
Mr. Platt?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Okay, we are on to approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the March 11, 2019 regular meeting minutes as submitted?
So moved?
And I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. Discussion?
No.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Platt?
Yes.
Ms. Rotovac?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
We are on to other business. This is letter A, discussion and voting procedures. I'm assuming since Scott's not here, we will have more action on that at a later time. And I know that Mr. Zetz wants to meet with this board and the zoning commission board to discuss procedures at a future date. So I'm assuming we don't have anything this evening. Is that correct?
That's correct, we have
Okay.
nothing this evening.
So we move on to adjournment, number 9 of the meeting, to the next meeting, which would be Monday, May 13th, 2019 at 6:30. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
There's been a motion and a second. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Ms. Rotovac?
Yes.
Mr. Platt?
Yes.
Oh,
We
still-
stand adjourned.
Wow.
Great job.
Still light outside.
Got time to make the popcorn for the game.
I was wondering why it was going so fast tonight. I was like, oh, yeah, they were talking about that today. I worked out on Saturday, and my stomach is so sore.